Welcome to the channel. Now, I am fighting a horrible cold, as you can tell by my voice, but I'm going to try to fight through and get all of these done. For the next week, other than the highlight videos, you're going to be getting the reintroduction into the series. And what I mean by that is All Pro Football 2K8, the FFL, is going to be coming back for our 10th season soon. And we won a championship in Season 9. We saw the off-season. Now I'm going to go through every single division and go through each team, their pros, their cons, their best players, so you guys can be more invested into the series and into these players. Now, let's get started with the Atlantic Central. And here we are. We're going to start off looking at this division. And we're starting with this division because it has three of the oldest teams, I believe, in the FIREBIRDS, the Metal, and the Stallions. And then a slightly older team, but obviously not as old as them, the DC Demons, who were formerly the Redcoats. Now, these teams are very good, and just a few years ago, the Stallions were one of the best offenses in the league. This is the most tough division in the whole league due to the FIREBIRDS being a contender, the Demons being a contender, the Metal being a dynasty, and yes, the Stallions are not great, but it doesn't help that they possibly have 6 losses every season off the bat due to these amazing teams, especially because they're in a rebuild currently. And we're going to start off with the DC Demons. They were established in 1984, and they are the former Redcoats, and they've built a really good team the last 6 to 7 years. Now, formerly they were, for a little bit of time, in the Wolves' old division, but around Season 7, Season 8-ish, actually no, I think this was way earlier, I think it was around Season 5, Season 4, all the teams got moved around a little bit in their divisions, and they found their way to this one. Now, they've built a really good team, but they are really inconsistent due to them being slightly younger, as you'll see in their depth chart in a little bit. They have a really good defense. It's aging, but if they can make some good picks, they can revitalize this defense. Also, they have a star pocket passing quarterback in Austin Stewart. He's grown from being very inconsistent to very sharp with his passes and his decision making. With amazing ownership and the coaching that this team has, it has what it takes to beat every team in the league and especially top their division every year. But as well, as I said before, they are in the hardest division. Now, if we look their offense, they run a dual tight end single back, which is like what the Flight use and how they use Oliver Strauss. And as you see on defense, there's not many defensive schemes in the league, but Tampa 2 is especially a really popular one with a lot of teams. They have Austin Stewart quarterback being their #1 threat on offense, and on defense, their best player is Carter Cantwell, easily the best one of the best DBs in the league, especially because of his speed. His coverage skills can be a little lackluster, but he is extremely fast, so even if he is beat, he's going to come back and make big plays on the ball. As we look at their depth chart, they have a pretty solid team coming into Season 10. As you see, they have Brandon Firecrotch still. He's been a part of this team for many years, 12 plus I would say. They also got Scott at guard, Osborne at tackle, but don't forget, they got Gene Day as a free agent, who's a former All-Pro wide receiver. He's a speedster, so he's going to have, Austin Stewart, I should say, is going to have more help. And don't forget about Malcolm Waters at running back. Now, he's been a little inconsistent, a little touch and go, especially due to injuries. But if there is a hole to be found, he will find it and take it all the way for a touchdown. Uh, Malcolm Waters is a very talented back, and he really is the powerhouse that this team needs to really try to get past some of their other deficiencies. Now, let's look at their defense. If you look, they have Carter Cantwell, like I said, at DB, and he is a very extremely fast CB on that side. And don't forget about Mathis at free safety. Roman Mathis has been on the team for a long time. I believe he was their first pick in the first season of this series, and he's very good at zone coverage, and he's a really big hitter. Now, also don't forget about Matthews at strong safety. He's undervalued, but he's a big hitter as well at 6'4", and he's also from the Discord. Then you look at Anderson on that other side. He is a big press DB that really stops people at the line. They just drafted Favors to be that edge, and he's a very big lineman. And they have Townshed and many others like Rollins, who is undervalued as well and can definitely be one of the best DNs in the league if it wasn't for injuries. Now let's look at last year's divisional winner of this division, and that will be the Firebirds. In Detroit, they were established in 1925, and they're one of the oldest teams in the league. They run a zone run offense, and they also run the Tampa 2. Their best player on offense is Jax Howe, and their best inside linebacker, well, the best defensive player, I should say, is Justin Jones, who is one of the best middle linebackers in the league. Now, if you look at this team, like I said, they're one of the oldest teams in the league, and they had Hall of Famer Kyle Weeman for 20 years and didn't miss a beat. And after becoming a champion, former first-round pick Neve Watts came to Detroit from the Wolves. And they've really built around him and gave him a stable home he needed. They are constantly making a run at a title and up there every year. There is a big problem, though, and that is age. Age, especially on their defense, has been a really big problem for the Firebirds. If you look, they keep losing their best defensive talent, and even though Neve Watts, yes, has become better and better, they really need to focus on defense, or they're really not going to go much farther than losing a title. But now, let's look at their team more in depth and see what they have to offer. In the league, there's a big meta shift to tackles who are big run blockers. Think Marvin Ephraim. And what started that was Jax Howes. He is one of the strongest tackles in the league and one of the hardest run blockers to face on that left side. Also, they have Warford, who's been in there for a long time as well, and he's one of the best guards, if not the best guard in the league. Then they have starter Stewart at wide receiver, who he's been there for many years, back when even Weeman was there, and he's a very special talented receiver. He's a good route runner. Now, the person to really focus on is Marcus Oliver. He's easily one of the best route runners in this league, and he's going to become more like an Ed Council the more he's playing. As we saw in the championship game, the first play for the Firebirds, Neve Watts fired one down the field for Oliver, who ended up being wide open. Oliver can beat just about any DB in coverage. And talking about the quarterback, Neve Watts, he's lowered his interception numbers. He's not nearly as aggressive, but he still has that very powerful arm, and he's still extremely athletic. He can run, as we saw in the championship game. He does it a lot less, but also in that Montana Young offense, he lets his quarterbacks work. He lets them run, he lets them do what they need to do to win the game. Now, Neve Watts, he's in a really good system, and he has former MVP Sherman Hickson at running back. Now, Hickson has aged dramatically. He's lost a lot of his speed, but he's still a 6'3" powerhouse. He can break any tackle if given the right angle. He is really good in this zone run offense. It's going to be really exciting to see what they can do last year in this new league starting in Season 10. So even though they have one of the best middle linebackers in Justin Jones, they do have a big hole at linebacker and free safety. They've lost a lot of their good uh, secondary play with their free safety Escalante. But they do have former first round pick Leonard Cooks, who is good. They have Barry at strong safety, who is a hard hitter but can play decent zone. You have D end Escalante, who's a good pass rusher, and then you have Gatewood at the other end position. They're really missing really star players except for Justin Jones, and he does show up on every play. He makes some big plays for this defense. It's just how far can you really go with one really big star player on a side of a ball? Only the future can tell, and hopefully this team can continue their rising throughout the division. Now let's take a deep look into the Pittsburgh Medal. They are the best team in the league, hands down. Now, they did have a down year last year, but due to them being in the hardest division, it's not surprising. They have the best player, one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Bryce O'Connell. He's clutch. He's a great pocket passer. Now, he lacks athleticism, but he is really good. And they have the best running back slash linebacker in the whole league in Ty Banks from the Discord. They run a 3 wide receiver single back, so they can run the ball with Banks, but they have 3 receivers on the field at all times. And their defense is a hybrid defense. They run a 4-3 blitz that can look like a 3-4 at times, but they can also run dime and a lot of blitzes and out of nickel and dime as well. Which is why when the Dragons face the Metal, they always have a hard time because the Dragons like to space out teams, but teams like the Metal are built for that. Now, if you look here, they are the dynasty. They have the most championships in the whole entire league ever, and they're one of the oldest teams established in 1919. They can be inconsistent, but with a top 3 quarterback like Bryce O'Connell in the league, and a running back like Ty Banks, and not even starting to talk about the best defense in the league. Their once young team, now a established veteran presence, is completely scary and very impossible to go against every week. They're almost perfect. They are in the tough division, but they are the team to beat every year. Great talent, great coaching, great history. They are the bar to meet. This team is absolutely insane, and every time we face them, we always have trouble. Now, looking into their team, they do have a slightly different team than most teams, and I will explain why in 1 second. Their coaching has made amazing picks, especially through not just a draft, but undrafted free agency. If we look at their O-line, they have Hackney, Silvera, Pagan, not many, Schultz. Not many of these O-linemen were even drafted in the draft. They were mostly undrafted, and they've just made them good enough to just be, well, good enough. You look at O'Connell, he only has Kafers really as a star receiver talent. He's a really good route runner, though, but he's not extremely athletic. But he does have Banks, he does have, obviously they have Bryce O'Connell. They run the ball, and they use the clock against their whoever they're going against. They are a really good team, and they're built to last, especially if you look at their defense. Now, there's not much to talk about their offense, but their defense is where this team is amazing. They have Palmer at DB. He can play free safety, CB, linebacker. He is fast. He breaks the defense because he's so fast. He's hard hitting. He has decent coverage. He's so tall, so big. He's basically a linebacker playing CB. He's a amazing talent and has great future. You have Malik Cloud on the other side, who is a good zone coverage corner. He's no Emil Reyes, who was a corner for the Metal for many years, but he is good enough. You have free safety Bowman, who's one of the best free safeties in the league. They have Clanton now at strong safety. So they move Emmanuel Tanner Sr. to outside linebacker to pair with Banks, which is scary. They picked up Rashad Ford in the draft. They have Beal and Campbell, and don't forget Christensen, a former All-Pro D tackle. This defense is legit, and in the future, unless they really try to restack this defense, is going to be very scary, especially with Palmer. I would look for him being a very special talent. Now, the Stallions, they have a very interesting team and a very interesting backstory. They are also one of the oldest teams, established in 1919. Their best player on offense, because they're in the middle of a rebuild, is Trevor Foy at center. And their best player on defense is Del McHugh, one of the best D tackles in the league, even though he's aging. They have a power run offense due to their new head coach they got last year in Brady Vaughn, the Hall of Fame running back from the Wolves. He had a fight back with Montana Young back in season 1 and was traded. And now he's made his way all the way to become a coach himself. The Stallions, like I said, in the middle of a rebuild, they got rid of their best players, and the other best players have retired. Now, if we look into the Stallions, they drafted and grew Patrick Anderson and had a killer offense. Their old coach wanted to rebuild, and the ownership said no and fired him. Now Hall of Fame running back Brandon Vaughn became their new head coach, and even though the team is slowly getting better, a nice undrafted upgrade at quarterback, and slowly building a defense, they are building for the future. They are slowly becoming better, and Brady Vaughn is forming this team into a stout team, and only a matter of time the Stallions will be a contender. Now, the ownership didn't want to rebuild, but the old coach had already given up Patrick Anderson. He didn't want Patrick Anderson anymore. He was trying to trade him, but he was asking for too much money. Anderson caught wind of it. He was sent into free agency, and trying to think who picked him up. Oh, the Revenge. The Revenge ended up picking up Patrick Anderson. And because, even though the team did not want to really go back and do that and do any type of rebuilding, because the coach basically got rid of Patrick Anderson for literally nothing, ownership was forced to go through a rebuild. And so they got rid of their best receivers, the best offense in the league was demolished, and their defense was never that great. So this team has quickly fallen from a mid-tier team to top-tier team to now basically in the bottom of the league. Now, they are slowly getting better already with Brady Vaughn. They're running the ball a lot. When I mean a lot, I mean a lot. They're building an O-line. They're slowly building a defense, especially with Josh Peterman at linebacker. It's going to be very interesting to see where they go from here, especially with the Stallions being such an old team. But first, let's look at their depth chart. As we see here, like I said, the undrafted quarterback was Anthony from the Discord. They picked up Tomlin from free agency. They have Travis Walter, I believe his name is. He's a former tight end. They have Hill at tight end, who's one of the few star tight ends. They have a great guard in Amaya, a good center in Foy, a good backup kind of guard in Christian, and they have Cointilla, I think his name is. Vaughn has also drafted a fast running back in Harris to his offense. Now, this team is, bottom of the league, yes, but Anthony can do good things in college. Well, coming out, he's one of the oldest quarterbacks to come out, and he is clutch. He is a good field general, and we're gonna see if he can make it in the pros. And Harris, he's a speedster, so it's gonna be really nice to see what this team can do. And the nice part is they have Hill at tight end, and they have Walter, who's a former tight end, who is a good receiving tight end, out at receiver, so he's a good blocker as well. So they have 7 blockers at all time, not even counting sometimes when they have a fullback. So they're a really run-heavy team, and now let's look at their defense. Now their defense is not great. I'm not gonna lie, it's not. But they have Cameron at DN on the edge, and they have the 2 Vaughns that they picked up years ago. And don't even forget about Del McHugh at D tackle, who is currently still one of the best D tackles in the league. But because of his age, he's starting to finally digress a lot. They have Jones at CB, who is a very good press corner. They have Johnson they picked up in free agency. They need help at every other secondary position, but again, this team is still kind of building from what was left. And then don't forget about Peterman, who was a project linebacker coming out. He is very agile. He has power. He can pass rush. Basically everything that this 3-4 blitz team needs. Now, they do need linebacker, like middle linebacker. They need 2 of them to have this 3-4 work. But it's just very interesting to see this team quickly build the way they are, and I'm really, really happy how Brady Vaughn has been building this team so far in the I think year that he's been coach. But finally, that will be it. Like I said, other than the highlight videos, you're gonna get these on my normal days. There is 6 in total, so you're gonna be getting them Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you're gonna probably get them next week as well. And then Sunday I might have a special video in mind if I'm feeling better. If not, I'm gonna move one of these to Sunday. I was gonna try to do all these in one day, but this is really taken out of me more than I thought it would. But thank you guys for watching. Sorry for the lack of content. I'm just not feeling too good. I'm behind on editing since I'm not feeling good, and I wanted to do this reintroduction, and so I've been working on all of these logos and all these things for this. So if you guys enjoy this and excited for next week's or next video's division, let me know. It'll be a Pacific division. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.